I'm back. Hello. What a show. Oh my goodness. If you're watching this segment on YouTube, you're going to want to watch at least a lot of this. I have so much jam-packed in this one. What's going to be a pretty long segment. It's going to go all over the place. And a lot of Trump-related things. Starting with, we're in that season. You got the Starbucks holiday colors. You got Christmas. What's that other one? Trump?
But you know what? You're going to have the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world, and you're going to love it. It's going to fit beautifully with the White House. Happy Hanukkah. Have a great year. We love you, and we love Israel. Thank you.
Oh! That didn't seem like you meant it. Happy Hanukkah. Yeah. That too. No, but seriously. Now, he has been up and down. I don't want to jump into a bunch of speculation, but people are speculating about what's going on with Trump lately. Because you probably saw, and we're going to look at some of these clips too, and many other things, that he got all the networks to cover this big primetime speech, and there were rumors floating, is he going to announce war against Venezuela? And so everyone had to tune in, and then he ends up just ranting about, in this really manic, agitated mood, all of his quote-unquote accomplishments. So his goal is quite literally, or his strategy is quite literally, not to adjust policy to address affordability, but just to scream at Americans, telling them things are great. Before we get to some of that, here was his near hyperventilation throughout the speech.
Good evening, America. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
Why didn't he say Happy Hanukkah? I really hope that's not destroying your eardrums. Maybe later Jaden can turn it down when I scream like that. But we got a good compressor. One of the best in the business. So then you have the speech itself.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans.
So he starts at a more normal tone. Of course, he's lying, and that's not even notable. We're not even taking note. I was not going to play that clip, and then I thought, you know what? Because I should, because we let him get away with stuff like that. Inflation was not the highest it's ever been when you took over. You've been bragging that inflation is around 3%. That's what it was when you inherited the economy. He just lies. Than this.
That. Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history, and 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. Think of that. 100% of all jobs have been in the private sector rather than government, which is the only way to make a country powerful and great. This historic trend will continue. Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion.
So that's a lie as well. And there's this, I don't know if you can call it a lie. Yeah, no, lie. That they try to get away with as well, not to be redundant, but that under Biden, you only had government workers or foreign-born workers benefiting from the historic job growth. Looked into the numbers, not true. And they keep saying under Trump, you have citizens gaining jobs. And under Biden, it was just foreign-born. Vast majority was native-born citizens making up the job growth under Biden. And you had, in total, much stronger job growth, including in the private sector. Whereas with Trump, we've actually seen job losses for the first time since his first administration. I know we've said that many times, but it is worth repeating than this.
Tonight, I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000
1,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 want in polling that we see want to subscribe to this channel but haven't yet? 1,028 million dozens and a half. And by clicking that subscribe button, you can get that down to 3018. Then on healthcare.
Now, in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats.
Why are you shouting? I don't understand.
Now, in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Unaffordable Care Act, and everybody knew it.
Hey,
again, I want the
new nickname drop. Unaffordable actually slowed the increases in premium prices. They still did go up, but slowed that trend while expanding coverage to a lot of people. Not perfect. We should do much more. But the Affordable Care Act was definitely a step in the correct direction and definitely better than whatever the heck Trump is thinking of. We'll get to that in a second, actually, what his grand healthcare plan is. You're going to lose it when you hear what one of his advisors said they have. He does use the word concepts, literally. But Trump has been laying out his plan.
Concepts of a plan.
Which we'll get to in more specifics.
In driving up housing costs was the colossal border invasion. We have never been invaded. This is the worst thing that, frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of...
All right, so that kind of gives you a sense of why people were confused about for example, Aaron Rupar, about the tone of the speech. Trump sounds like a maniac at some sort of demented open mic.
And far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully by other countries against us, but not anymore. Companies know that if they build in America...
Okay, so that's what's going to cause later in this segment. Stick around for it, trust me. Later in this segment, a doctor on CNN. To Jake Tapper's credit, he got a lot of flack. People saying you focus a lot on Biden's cognitive decline. What about what's going on with Trump, whatever it is? And so he did bring on a doctor to pontificate on what is going on with Trump in speeches like this and his other appearances. But then it's kind of like it'll either be this or he'll be at a meeting, which I have a clip for you of, and he's falling asleep and his mouth is drooping and it's just all very confusing. One little fun drop, of course. We always got to do this when he says it.
Construction workers, it's $1,800. For miners, we're bringing back clean, beautiful coal. It's $3,000.
All right.
Clean, beautiful coal.
There's producer Cole. You can get yourself merch that says "All I Got for Christmas" or Hanukkah. No, we don't have that actually. But all I got for Christmas was clean, beautiful coal. And that's delightful. Now we're going to focus a little bit more on this claim he makes because we finally got a Trump administration official to explain what does Trump mean when he says drug prices are going to go down more than 100%. Won't a decrease of 100% bring whatever the price is to zero?
I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign...
It's so funny that he spiked when he said drugs. I'm not saying he's on drugs. I don't do that. I don't have evidence of that, except for he did have a long history of doing uppers. But I'm not saying that. But if he were, his guilty conscience would see the word drugs on his teleprompter and go, drugs? Well, listen.
Directly with the drug companies and foreign nations. Negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward, and I use the threat of tax.
So plummeting, hear those words, plummeting downwards. How much? They will be downwards by 600, 700, sometimes he says 1,500%, which would just mean that the drug companies would be paying us. The math of that is they would be paying us for the drugs. And what is this? What is this about drug? What is this?
Yesterday, there was a bunch of baseless buzz about some sort of, I don't know, ground invasion of Venezuela. The media just ran with it blindly. But instead, my father delivered a speech laying out his record year of his second term. I mean, the ultimate Trump rope-a-dope. They think he's going to do a State of the Union type of...
I don't know why that was categorized in my drug topic. That must have gotten dropped in. I don't know. I am curious, just as a side note, why aren't his eyes open in this whole clip? Why aren't your eyes open? Where are your eyes?
I don't snort cocaine.
Now, maybe Trump's right, and Don Jr.'s just getting paid to do... That's too obvious, isn't it? Is that just too low-hanging fruit? That Don Jr.'s the one getting paid to do drugs? But it's just, I try to be better than that, but sometimes the fruit's there. Just eat it. See, now I'm furthering it, right? I'm not letting it go, which is making it even worse, which people love. Now, here is Howard Lutnick explaining what Trump means by this mathematically impossible statement. Let's see if we're convinced.
Tonight, because some of them were just mathematically impossible. Listen to what he said about bringing down the price of prescription drugs. Listen here.
I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%.
Well, if you cut something by 100%, the cost goes down to zero. If you cut it by 4, 5, or 600%, the drug companies are actually paying you to take their product. So it raises the question, how much of last night's speech was...
Raises the question, what's happening? I know Trump has a head. What's inside of it? That's the question that we're asking.
He's
asking, right.
hyperbole, and how much was fact?
No, what he's saying is you bring it, if a drug was $100 and you bring the drug down to $13, right? Okay. If you're looking at it from $13, it's down seven times.
It's not a 600%.
Well, but it's 700% higher price before. It's down 700% now, right? So a $13 would have to go up 700% to get back to the old one. So it all depends on when you look at it. You could say it's down 87%, or you could say it would have to go up.
First of all, it's not. Second of all, it's not that you could. Okay, it's not. What drug are you talking about? First of all, I'm gonna wait until I actually see broader data. I'm done. Call me crazy. Covering like it's major news every time Trump does a PR blitz on a topic. I'll cover interesting little moments. I'm not going to go, well, he's claiming that he's going to reduce prices because he's saying that because we've seen it. He's had people over and over in the White House standing there, CEOs going, yes, we are agreeing to invest. And you feel the need in my position to cover that because, Mark Zuckerberg's there saying they're going to invest a bunch in more something. That's cool. Then you actually always wait a few days, few weeks, look into the specifics, and it's always a rope-a-dope, to use a Don Jr. term. I've been roped and doped. Doped. Don. And I don't want to keep falling into that trap because he's so good at getting everyone to cover that he is pre-celebrating an achievement before the achievement has happened. So we'll wait to see what shows them in the data. But let's imagine there was an 87% reduction in a drug price. Show it to us. And how widespread is that? And it's not that you could word it that way. It's that would be the way you would word it. That would be it. It wouldn't be, you could say 87% or 870%. It's just sort of which perspective do you look at it from. Now, I get what he's saying. He's saying if you flip it, right? You go after the reduction, then to get the price back up, like a $10 drug now that was previously $100, to get it back up to $100, you would have to have a 900% increase in the price, right? And so then he's saying it's going down by 900% because if it were already down, it would be up 8-fold, 10-fold, 20-fold, whatever. But that's literally not what those words mean, because it reducing by more than 100% is mathematically possible. And he's saying reductions. He's not saying it's so low now that to get it back, you would have to increase it by 900%, you know? Words matter.
Ooh,
and
the
meanwhile,
deep nuance of Howard Lutnick.
Meanwhile, Trump promised to cut, do you remember, energy prices in half? In half. Now, that is a percentage that is mathematically possible. Logistically impossible, maybe. Economically impossible, maybe. But mathematically possible. A 50% reduction in energy prices. Instead, look at this. Energy bills in the U.S. have increased 13%. Or 1,300%, just the way that you look at it, since Trump took office. So a lot of deep nuance from Lutnick. That was him trying to be, no, well, if you look at it a different way, then... Which is how they all spend their life, these spokespeople for Trump, is just figuring out what did he say and how many backflips and gymnastic pretzels can I bend myself into and tricks can I do on that thing to make this make sense, right? And then pretend like everyone else is stupid. I'm not the idiot. You're the idiot. I'm not the idiot. You're the for not understanding the nuance / idiocy. Now, here is Lutnick saying, everyone, put your big boy diapers on because 2026 is going to be a good year. That's when we're really going to kick the Trump economy into gear.
Ordinary. Look for the second quarter of 2026 to be amazing. As well.
Okay, not even 2026. Second quarter. All right.
26 to be amazing as all this money comes back into the economy from this big, beautiful bill, which really takes care of Americans. Finally, the president has the...
What is more quintessentially taking care of Americans than taking away their health care? But if you look at it in a different way, they've gotten health care with this from the standpoint of getting... Come on. Darn. Now, I'm unhinged today, guys. I'm double fisting coffee right now. And pep. I already have pep too. I'm going crazy. I'm getting paid to do drugs. No, okay, but hear that, right? One more time, hear it. This is really important.
Look for the second quarter of 2026.
Second quarter of 2026. Weird. I feel like I remember him saying this.
That's going to drive growth. If you divide that by our $30 trillion economy, that's a whole lot of growth, and you're going to get that starting in the fourth quarter, and that's going to drive this U.S. economy.
So he meant that was the fourth quarter of 2025. And you might go, no, but he was saying it'll kick in, the investment will turn on in the fourth quarter of 2025. Then we'll really be raging by second quarter 2026. You sure? Because what about this?
Going to take, Secretary?
Okay, the Donald Trump economy. We own the economy in the fourth quarter. We start to get, we get show.
Ooh. So he's just bumping back. Initially, it was, give us a couple months. Then it was, hey, by the end of this year, it's Trump's economy. Like what he said there. We own it, fourth quarter. Now it's second quarter of 2026 is going to be the real deal. One clip I've been meaning to show you from an interview that Trump did with Dasha Burns is him doing the same Binance founder, Zhangping Zhao, song and dance in relation to Juan Orlando Hernandez, the convicted international drug trafficker and former Honduran president. And Trump did the same. Juan who? I know a lot of Juans.
You pardoned former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez and let him out of prison, even though he was convicted in a massive international drug trafficking scheme. How is that zero tolerance on drug trafficking?
Well, I don't know him, and I know very little about him, other than people said it was like a Obama-Biden type setup where he was set up. He was the president of the country. The country deals.
So we're doing this again. I don't know barely anything about him. I don't know the guy.
It's Joe Biden.
Yeah, right. And, well, then why are you pardoning him? He said he knew nothing about Zhangping Zhao, and he pardoned him. Why don't you know about it, the major people you're pardoning? You don't know anything about the guy who is associated with and founded the company that just made your company a bunch of money, and then, now all of a sudden you were aware that Biden went after Zhangping Zhao? Listen, folks. I call him Zhang. He's a bad guy. We gotta get him. We gotta get him. Come on, Cole.
You're the sucker. You're the loser.
I handed it to you. Life, liberty.
Life, liberty, pursuit of
Yeah, I don't think Biden had a vendetta against Zhangping Zhao. I don't think so. I think that he was lawfully prosecuted for a good reason, and then Trump pardoned him because he made Trump a lot of money. And then similarly here, there's something. I got to figure out what it is, but Trump's saying he's so tough on drugs despite him doing a bunch of things that don't demonstrate that. And while he's using that as a justification to extrajudicially kill people in these alleged drug boat strikes and double taps and alleged war crimes, all justified by a tough stance on drugs, then he's pardoning an international drug trafficker. And I don't know what it is, but there's something there. To use a phrase from a good buddy, I don't know, but I know. We don't know, but we know. What's going on there? There's something. Juan Orlando Hernandez is doing something to get this treatment from Trump. And it's not PG, right? This was funny.
And so across the southwestern border, 41% of the distance between the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America.
Hey, got it. Woo! That was good. Now, unfortunately, I don't think Trump's speech that was supposed to convince Americans by screaming at them that their concerns about the economy are ridiculous and actually Trump's crushing it. And by second quarter of 2026 or second quarter of 2029, things are really going to be going great. Despite that, I don't think people are buying it. But what they are buying are penises. And so one of the things that the Trump administration is concerned about is the unaffordability of penises.
Vaginoplasty, a procedure a child does not need, costs $60,000. Shockingly, a phalloplasty, the creation of a penis, costs on average in America, according to this data, high quality, $150,000 per child. I do believe, with doing some work, that these prices have continued to increase with increasing manufactured demand. And I must point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too personal here, but I remember when I got mine for, I think it was, I can't remember. It was either my birthday or a holiday. I can't remember. But when I got mine, I unwrapped it and I was worried, right? Unwrapped. Because sometimes people will kind of focus on a budget too much whenever they're getting you a new penis. And it's so important, you can't have that. And I was so heartened that the person who got it for me really went all out and got me a cream of the crop. A real...
They're also not even taking into consideration refurbished.
Right. Like, is this a used or is it a new?
If it's too expensive, there's alternative options.
We
eBay.
should have our heads examined.
Because sometimes people, go, oh, like cars have gotten so expensive. True. And then I ask them what type of car, and they're like, oh, I'm looking for a new car. It's like, well, get a used car. Right? I feel like it's a similar thing. Like for me, I got a Cadillac equivalent, but it was used. It was used, and it's been fine for me. But to your point, like, does the deal come with regular cleaning? You know how like Lexus, you can get free cleanings if you have one of their cars. Is this like you have to clean it yourself? Does someone else clean it? What happens? Is there a warranty? Is there a warranty? Is there a warranty for my penis? What happens if it gets stepped on? What happens if I get it into a fender bender? Like, does it come with it? Is that included, or do I have to pay extra for that? Now, of course, I'm sure I think he was talking about like the industry incentivizing young people. And yeah, I don't think a young person, a super young person, should be having things sliced or diced. It sounds insensitive. I'm just trying to make light of this. It was a serious topic, and we'll probably get into that in more depth later. But the way he worded it was like, "Oh, so expensive lately." So then someone said, someone said, this is too much. First, I looked around my apartment and couldn't find it. So I called up the place where the party was. They hadn't seen it either. I asked them to check the medicine cabinet because for some reason I leave it there sometimes, but not this time. Where did I? My dad spent so much money and I misplaced it. This is why we made you save up for it yourself, because when someone else buys something for you, you don't appreciate it. You don't
get his balls back.
You don't take care of it like you would take care if you had to save up your own allowance. Where did I put I could have sworn I saw it somewhere. Hey, hey, yeah, I, Luke Beasley, I had a reservation last night at your restaurant, and I left something. I'm wondering if you have it in your lost and found. Oh, what is it? I think you'll know what it is. I mean, you'll know what it is. You'll know what it is. Oh, you can't just assume, because then I could be stealing. Describe it. What color is it? Like kind of a eggshell white? I don't know. No, it's not a phone case. No, it's not a sweater. It's sort of 2 to 3 inches. No. Okay. All right, we get it. Funny. So, speaking of what, you do have this little miscellaneous story. Hi. Are you a white man? Have you been discriminated against? Trump administration. Join our class action lawsuit.
I'm Andrea Lucas, chair of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Are you a white male who's experienced discrimination at work based on your race or sex? You may have a claim to recover money under federal civil rights laws. Contact the EEOC as soon as possible. Time limits are typically strict for filing a claim. The EEOC is the federal agency charged with enforcing federal anti-discrimination law against businesses and other private sector employers.
Yeah, hi. Hey, Andrea Lucas. Hi, this is Luke. I'm a white man, and I heard about the compensation that I might be qualified for. I had gotten a used device, we'll call tool, maybe we'll call it. And it was one of those situations where, like, at the Lowe's, I just thought that I could tell the right color from those little cards they have, but I didn't actually check the paint myself. I just thought I could tell from looking at those cards. And I ended up getting two white. I was going for eggshell white. This was like a white. And my employer always made fun of me for it. So does that qualify? I don't know. Of course, anyone of any race can be discriminated against, and that is wrong in any case. And anyone should get justice. But you gotta be, hey, are we adults here? You gotta be honest with me. Having a government, is she in the government? Some official go, are you a white man? Were you treated worse because of the color of your skin? Well, call Morgan and Morgan or whatever. Then you have this big announcement. Trump is renaming the Kennedy Center after himself and changing it to the Trump Kennedy Center. And I found this post from Caroline Leavitt just so exhilarating. Congress, let's see. I'd just been informed, she writes, that the highly respected board of the Kennedy Center, some of the most successful people from all parts of the world, have just voted unanimously to rename the Kennedy Center to the Trump Kennedy Center because of the unbelievable work President Trump has done. Now, he installed loyalists there, which is why, they're doing this over the last year and saving the building. Not only from the standpoint of its reconstruction, but also financially and its reputation. Congratulations. Guys, get ready. This is Leavitt congratulating her boss. Congratulations to President Donald J. Trump, and likewise, congratulations to President Kennedy. Who is not alive, you might remember. Why are we congratulating President Kennedy for now having to share his name on an honorary institution for him now with Trump? Congratulations, President Kennedy. So there's that, and this doesn't seem legal either. Trump is reclassifying marijuana for medical use. This is good. Stop short of full legalization, though. Trump reclassified marijuana Thursday from a Schedule 1 substance to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical use and executive order. So again, hey, credit where it's due. You could go further, but that is definitely a step in the correct direction. Having it classified up with heroin is insane. Much to the confusion of, no, I'm not going to do that. I knew someone once who I told that a friend of mine loves smoking pot, right? He smoked a lot of pot. And this person, this friend, I'll say, of mine, responded immediately, does he do heroin? And I was like, there's a big gap between the two of those. But maybe Trump was doing a little marijuana himself, because look at how sleepy and droopy he was at this announcement.
And if you don't have standardized dosing...
Dang it. I didn't know that. Never mind.
And if you don't have standardized dosing, any study that you do is comparing apples to pears. And we don't know the difference between botanicals and synthetics and all of these questions.
Can I just say apples and oranges like every other regular person on the face of the earth, Bobby. Everyone says that's like comparing apples and oranges. Of course he says apples and pears. Oh!
And we don't know the difference between botanicals and synthetics and all of these questions we're now going to be able to answer. 5 administrations have promised to act on this issue. The Biden administration promised to do this, and the proposal began during the Biden administration. It got mired down in the chaos and inertia.
Yeah, so at least he's correctly stating that. Look at the droop on his mouth. There's like, I'm not a doctor, but I have heard there's something that happens that can cause that. So he's either screaming or he's sleeping.
You're Willie Nelson High.
Or he's Willie Nelson High. So then this was Jake Tapper bringing on Dr. Reiner to discuss his observation of Trump's speech that we looked at earlier.
And then earlier today, and this is not the first time this has happened, the president appeared to be struggling to keep his eyes open during a public White House event. In the Oval Office earlier today, we're showing the video right now. I don't know if that worries you. What's your take on that? What is that?
So he's done this several times now in the last few weeks. He's fallen asleep in a crowded Oval Office, and he's also fallen asleep at cabinet meetings with people talking directly to him, and that's what's called increased daytime somnolence. And there are a lot of things that can do that. Sometimes people with sleep apnea, people who wake up many times during the night and don't get restorative sleep, have that. That's treated typically with CPAP mask. We've never been told the president has sleep apnea. But
I'd pay so much money to see Trump in a CPAP. Lonnie, I'm going to bed. I sent down my last True Social, watching Sean Hannity. Great guy. All right, Lonnie, hook me up. I don't know why I did Darth Vader. That's not really how they sound, but you get it. I'd like to see that. We love our CPAP community. But then you have, this was about Trump's speech.
Dr. Reiner, what specifically was it about President Trump that you found so concerning watching him last night, especially in the context of, he gives outrageous speeches and has been for years?
Well, it wasn't the content. I thought the content was just standard fare that we've become accustomed to. But it was the way it was delivered. It was delivered in with a manic cadence, almost a frantic cadence. It was as if you felt like you were listening to a podcast on 2X. And that kind of manic delivery was very, very disturbing, very pressurized speech. And as the address went on, the cadence of his remarks became quicker, and we've never seen the president, like that. He seemed almost frantic, and it was disturbing to watch. It was disturbing because he's the commander in chief. He's not just the head of the government; he's the commander in chief of the greatest armed forces this world has ever seen, and it was disturbing to see him with in such a almost uncontrolled cadence.
Yeah, I have a hard time knowing what's notable and what's not, because his speeches for a long time have been so wild that I agree. I've watched enough that it wasn't that he was energetic. It was that it looked like at certain points he was trying to do a speed reading of the teleprompter and then had those strange drugs moments. And it did feel different when I was watching it in its entirety. But I never know what is more notable versus a different weird thing he does at speeches. Saudi Arabia, right? Now we get to the healthcare plan.
How would you say that?
I agree with the president. We have some ideas out there. Congress is working through some concepts. But I just want to emphasize that the ACAs are not imploding.
What are we doing? He went mega viral for saying,
I have concepts of a plan.
After a decade of saying he had a plan already for
2 weeks.
Healthcare. Saying 2 weeks, all that. And how do you not at least look at Twitter enough to go, I'm not going to use the word concepts. I'll use ideas, like he said it initially. Because it's just too easy to meme or re-emphasize virally that they don't have a plan. But Trump thinks he does, and here's how he explains it.
Bad thing, we can have a great thing. Let the money go directly to the people and let them buy their own health care.
But this is an urgent problem, Mr. President. Is there anything you can do now, Mr. President?
Can I answer, Mr. President?
This is going to be right now, as far as I'm concerned.
We've done it already. He thought of it, so that means it happened. He announced it. That's his thing. He's like, I already announced it, so I got what I wanted out of this deal. What do I need to do it? I announced it already. But what he keeps repeating is just that. Every time he repeats it, no more specifics. He says, my healthcare plan is we need to stop giving so much money to the insurance companies. Agree. So let's just give that money to the people. And you go, what does that mean? Because I know Republicans are against universal health insurance, which would be providing funded and operated by the government, essentially just Medicare, but for people of all different ages. And they're against that. And they just cut a bunch of people off Medicaid, same concept, expanding Medicaid or Medicare. So they definitely don't want to expand access. They just limited access. The functional way you would get rid of the middleman, which is ridiculous for something so necessary like healthcare, it's not that you're nationalizing or having the government operate the actual healthcare, but it is completely unnecessary to have all of these companies in between you and the healthcare that you're getting, just there to scrape a little off the top. Really think about it. I know you've thought about it so many times, but think about it again. What is it that they do? Money is going to have to go to the healthcare providers, to the doctors, to do the stuff. You want the stuff. But because you can't always have enough money on hand to afford the stuff, you pay into this middleman that has to find a way, in between that process to make a bunch of money. And that is something we know the government could do instead, because they do it with Medicare and Medicaid. And so he's definitely not arguing that, which is just make sure anyone who wants access can have access through those programs. Like every other industrialized country on the planet. We're the wealthiest, and we're the one of all the wealthier countries that doesn't, huh? Because they're ripping people, they're going the opposite direction. So then what does he mean? You just say like, hey, you get $1,000 a month for healthcare. If you run out, oops. That's what he's saying, right? Just give the money to the people and they can buy their own healthcare, he says. But everyone has different amounts of money they have to spend on healthcare, depending on what they're dealing with, and then accidents, etc. So are you saying you're going to have a flat rate that everyone gets this many dollars per year? What happens if they run out of it? Too bad, so sad? So he gets enough that insurance companies are so unpopular and so unnecessary for healthcare specifically, and that we could have a better system. And so he wants to get the PR boost of acknowledging that, but then he's so incoherent and isn't actually willing to implement a system that would be effective. So he just says, give money to people. But unless you're saying, how about this? Give money to people when they need the health care. And then it goes, well, why would we do that? Why wouldn't if your government's giving the money to the people and the people are giving it for whatever the healthcare need they have is, why wouldn't you just have government go ahead and just pay directly for the healthcare? But then you're just describing universal healthcare, universal health insurance. Then you're just describing Medicare for all. So this is Trumpism. He's not actually going to do anything to improve your life, but he'll say stuff that sounds nice, and then you actually think of the logistics of it, and it's like, oh no, this is another bait and switch. Or what did John Jr. say? Bango bong, no, banana wana,
some type of great alliteration.
Lobo wobo. Neither of you can remember what he said? Holy smokes. All right. And you do have House Republican going off on colleagues over lack of action on healthcare, saying what they've crafted so far is absolute bullshit. So it's not just me. Even Mike Lawler here wasn't very excited by that. You know Stephen Miller? Do you know Stephen Miller?
There's something fucked up about that motherfucker.
That is what Hunter said about him, not my words. And his wife now has a piece out in some outlet. This is being reported on by the Daily Beast. And it's honestly a little bit dumb. This reporting is a little bit dumb, but why not? It's kind of fun. MILF comes up, not in reference to her. She calls her mom a MILF. Weird. I'll get to it. Classmates of Stephen Miller's wife reveal her scary Mean Girls past. So already I'm like, sounds a little tabloidy, and I don't like the Mean Girls. Like, But let's read. A former school acquaintance of Stephen Miller's wife had laid bare her Mean Girls past. Katie Miller gained a reputation for questionable behavior long before. Raised in an upscale gated community of Florida, Katie reportedly made an impression on her classmates. Quote, she got up and said, my father is a litigator and my mom is a MILF. If you don't know what that stands for, that's mother I'd like to F, to have sex with, to make dirty, dirty love to, is what that stands for. MILF. Hey, I've heard enough. I don't think you should be allowed in polite society if you've ever called your own mother a MILF. I'm serious. It's fine. It's kind of sometimes a compliment if other people, because it's like, oh, your mom's beautiful, right? But kind of in a more raunchy way. But people say that like, oh, mom's a MILF. I'm not saying to me. I'm not saying to me. I'm just saying, people say culturally like, hey, my friend's mom's a MILF, you know? I don't, because that's weird, but people do. People, friends, socializing, and parties. And so it can be all right if someone else says it about your mom. I still would be like, that's my mom, back off. My father's going to mess you up. My dad's stronger than yours. But you don't say it about your mom. You don't say it about your own mom. Jail, that's where you go. You say that about your mom? Jail. You know how there's been much made of like speech crimes in places like the United Kingdom? I want as much free speech as we can get, and we got to protect it. And it gets bad when you don't. Except I do think it should be a speech crime to call your own mother a MILF. So I've heard enough, but there's more. She does nothing but drive up and down the highway in her SUV. This is Katie Miller speaking very politely about her own mother, until it's time to pick me up from school. What she meant was, my dad's a rich guy, my mom's hot. That's who I am, and that's where I come from. She was super proud. So how is this relevant? It's not. I don't know why this is being reported on anywhere. This is like gossip. This is terrible. Let's read. Other classmates remembered her as a social climber, obsessed with social status. Quote, she was someone who was very interested in befriending others for status more so than being a friend. She would drift towards whoever was in control or popular or whatever. A friend to many. But hey, her husband's overseeing inhumane acts like the mind can barely comprehend. And we're wasting ink on she wanted to be popular. So see, that's why I'm reading it to you, is just to demonstrate that this is not what we need right now. She wore juicy couture tracksuits, effectively the popular girl high school uniform. She was valley girlish, a teenage girl from an upper income family in a wealthy neighborhood. She kind of talked like that, just without the California accent. But then you get to the juicy parts, right? Miller worked as a photo editor for the student newspaper. The entertainment editor at the time told Slate that she's not surprised by Miller's divisive personality because she had it back then. You're never surprised when you hear something bad about Katie Waldman, or now Katie Miller. You had them saying. In August 2020, Vanity Fair reported on a flashpoint between Miller and an English teacher, one of the few African-American faculty members at the school. She had been teaching something and Miller took umbrage. Toni Morrison's beloved was being taught and Miller said, no, thank you. She didn't like Waite noting that black people had their history scrubbed as a result of slavery. Miller said, couldn't they just teach each other about their history? The educator and student reached an impasse and Waite suggested moving on. So she stood up reading about it being noted that black Americans' history was scrubbed as a result of slavery and said, well, why didn't they just tell each other about it? But Miller is said to have raised a stink, starting a petition against Waite that claims her lesson was psychologically damaging and sickening. Miller's father was called in. It was agreed that she would not take Waite's class. All right, you get the point. That's so ridiculous. Just like no one should be even talking about that story. So then you have Kash Patel here. That's not really relevant to anything. Here is Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes panicking over the midterms. This is good.
Midterms are next year. We almost certainly lose the House. We might even lose it earlier than that, sadly, between now and New Year's Eve or in January. And then what do you do? Does it get better after we lose the House? I think it gets worse. So,
by the way, some listeners won't get that. If you have enough Republicans quit or leave, like MTG, they're already on down to one or two. They don't vote. They've already lost the House technically.
There we go. So they're just... don't be getting that in your head that, it's inevitable that Democrats are going to sweep the midterms, but they're feeling that way. Then you know how this Vanity Fair piece came out where Susie Wiles is talking about how Trump is an alcoholic's personality and how Vance is doing things just for political expediency and is a conspiracy theorist, and how Elon is an avowed ketamine user, and how they didn't really know what to do on tariffs. They were just kind of spitballing. They just started going crazy, and how, etc. And it got Susie Wiles into some hot water. One of the things that MAGA used as justification to say this was a hit piece, despite it just being reporting on audio tapes that they have of Susie Wiles doing these voluntary interviews with Whipple, is that the photographs were not hot. That they were saying, Vanity Fair must have been trying to do a hit job because they did these really close-up photos. This one was particularly viral of Levitt, which I don't know what that is. I don't really find important, but I did find it funny that the photographer who took extreme close-ups of top White House officials for Vanity Fair has defended his work, and saying it's not deliberately, it wasn't manipulated deliberately, like Marco Rubio said. Christopher Anderson insists the ultra zoomed in photos is his style. It's just his style, right? Which makes sense. I don't think it was supposed to make them look bad. This is like a dramatic photo. Caroline Leavitt is watching you. Those lips, the way they move like a machine gun. To use Trump's quote. That is a Trump quote. This photo, I don't know what this was about, but Marco Rubio is just kind of leaning strangely. We don't know. And then, because I brought up Don Jr., just a little update as we're going through so many different miscellaneous things. Don Jr. is getting married. Look at that. Not to the person he was engaged to for 5 years. What? No, someone else. Which is fine. Bettina is her name.
Not often that I'm at a loss for words because we usually do the ranting and raving really well, but this is a little different. But I just want to wish all of you guys an incredible holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a very Happy New Year, and to thank Bettina for that one word, yes. It's always, when you go down there and it's like you're going to go and you're trying to ask and you're not sure what the answer is going to be, it's always a little bit rough, but she said yes, so that's a big win for the end of the year. Would you like to say something, Bettina?
What is it with the Trumps and struggling so bad at public rhetorical intimacy? I've seen divorced couples get up in front of people and say nicer things than I just heard there. It's like he's saying all the right words. You know, when you get down on your knees, you don't really know. And it's like, you know, will they say yes? Or will they say no? Will they say, I don't know? You don't know. And she said yes. And he like touches her like she's just like barely, and this is your shoulder. And then Trump also touches her. Hello, Bettina. It's all bizarre. It's all bizarre. I'm sure they're in love, but like, why can't anyone be good at just really seeming like you like each other in this family?
Wow, what a privilege it is to be here in the White House, Mr. President. Thank you so much for hosting this incredible party. And to our First Lady, these decorations, am I right? Are they unbelievable? This has really been the most unforgettable weekend of my life, and I get to marry the love of my life, and I feel just like the luckiest girl in the world.
See? Bettina is good. Bettina Trump, I guess maybe she's about to be. She actually gets it. Love of my life. You can fake it, even if it's not real. I know we've gone so long, but just a couple other things. A lot of you have been asking, what's this Trump claim about ending 8 wars or 9 wars? I'm going to show you, again, another credit to Jake Tapper. He's on fire a little bit. We had a little bit of a run-in with that one, but he's on fire. And I'm going to play that for you to kind of close that. But first, Mitt Romney urges higher taxes on the rich, warns U.S. is headed for a cliff. And why'd you wait until you were out? You've been in politics forever. Now your whole history has been lowering taxes for the rich. Like, I appreciate everything you did to stand on business. I think we have
clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
You did stand on business with opposing Trump, and you actually had real principles, I think, however much I disagreed with many of them. But one of the things you did do was the kind of typical Republican thing of acting like trickle-down economics makes sense. So now you're retired, and you're like, maybe Obama was right. Maybe he was on to something. And Biden. So then here's Jake Tapper giving us a rundown of that claim Trump keeps repeating about wars, ending so many wars.
These are the 8 wars that Trump claimed to have ended during his address to the United Nations this fall. Let's take a look at each one of them. Number 1, Cambodia and Thailand. This was a 5-day armed conflict that ended with a ceasefire agreement in July. Today, Thailand launched airstrikes against Cambodia. Thailand's army says the strikes were in retaliation for an attack that killed the Thai soldier. Number 2, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. On Thursday, at the newly christened Donald J. Trump United States Institute of Peace, the president participated in a signing ceremony for a peace agreement with the leaders, the presidents of both countries. That war has continued, however, in part because Thursday's deal was never signed by the leading rebel coalition that's actually doing most of the fighting. And just today, a bomb explosion killed more than 30 people in eastern Congo. War number 3, Ethiopia and Egypt. This is not actually a war. It's a long-running diplomatic dispute about a major Ethiopian dam project on the Nile. War number 4, Serbia and Kosovo. This is another supposed war that didn't actually occur during Trump's presidency. Number 5, Israel and Hamas. The situation in Gaza right now is tenuous. Attacks there have continued since the October ceasefire deal. War number 6, Israel and Iran. This too was a truly hot war, both countries launching missiles against each other for 12 days this June. Number 7, India and Pakistan. This conflict heated up after a terrorist attack in April. It led to days of drone and missile strikes. The Indian government has denied that the U.S. played a role in negotiating the ceasefire. That's number 8, Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's a conflict that goes back decades. In August, the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan met at the White House with President Trump. They signed a declaration to seek peace, but importantly, a final peace agreement has yet to happen.
Right. What about Albania and Azerbaijan? He didn't mention that one, and Trump keeps saying he ended that war, Albania and Azerbaijan. Which, my geography's failing me, but I don't, number one, feel like one of those countries is even a country. I've heard of Azerbaijan, not Azerbaijan. And I don't think Azerbaijan or Azerbaijan is close to Albania. No, yeah, I think I'm right. I don't think so. Alrighty, that was our big jumbo segment. We have more in our main show, YouTube individual video viewers. Get the bonus show and the full main show by clicking the join button or jump over to one of the other videos on the channel.